Hello everybody, welcome to another episode of EricksonTV. Curtis here with Lauren. Hello Lauren.
Hey everybody.
Hey Lauren, I was reading an article in the paper, it's called Reinventing Retirement. It's in the USA Today here January 30th, 2013. And it was an interesting article because we've touched on different parts of this subject matter in the past.
Right.
One of the benefits of being part of a firm that has a long legacy, with my previous partners,
right,
is we have many clients at different ages and stages of life, and so we've been had the honor of seeing how they've dealt with retirement. When they just started retirement, when they are farther along in retirement, and at the end of the retirement. And so some of these things are very obvious, but they talked about a key to healthy, happy retirement. And one of the interesting statistics was that they did a survey, or they did a study of people that compared people at age 50 or older that
right,
retired versus 50 and older that are still working in that same age range.
Right.
And they determined that the people that stopped working had a 40% higher chance of a heart attack.
Yeah, I just read that article too. That was really shocking.
That's a lot, big number.
that's a big increase. That's not a small amount.
So the interesting thing, they talked about the two keys, and we've talked about this in different segments again, but of course exercise is a big one.
Right.
And it doesn't have to be strenuous, hardcore 2-hour-a-day exercise. It could be 10 minutes, 20 minutes a day of exercise, just to movement.
Yes, exactly.
But the interesting thing is that they said that just our exercise for the sake of exercise may not always work, because you might lose interest if you're just doing it. So
it's pretty boring.
It's boring. Yeah. So the goal is to try to find an activity that maybe can get you moving. And there's a good example here about, there's a gentleman who retired that he got bored. He was an avid bicyclist, but he got bored with biking.
Right.
Because he started getting sore and just got bored. So what he did is he got really innovative. He set up an online social group in his local town in Virginia. Now he's up to 800 people.
Right.
And all they do is they pick out, hey, we're going to do this activity today. We're going to go walking on this trail for a half hour, and we're going to go wine tasting in the middle of it. Or we're going to meet at this. We're going to walk to this restaurant to eat breakfast.
Right, and there's a lot of benefits to doing that. I mean, first of all, you get to do something new every time, which is a big part of why it makes you happy. And then second, you make friends. Right.
Yeah, part two of the key to the healthy lifelong retirement is the social aspect.
Right.
That's huge, to have the social interaction.
And not just to have good friends, but to be making new friends.
Right.
There's a benefit in terms of health and happiness to constantly expanding your social circle. I mean, of course you want to keep your good friends, but people who make new friends also, it is correlated strongly with being happier and living longer.
Right. And there's a big trend nationally, I've been reading about these, there's a big trend nationally for these age-restricted retirement communities. And so some of the early ones back starting in the 1960s were developed by a man named Del Webb, who is a big construction company. And what they've done, and then now there's a big one called let's see, it's in Florida, called the Villages.
All right.
And that's a huge community with like almost over 100,000 people, and this is an age-restricted community where you have to be 55 or older. One member of the household has to be 55 or older. And what initially I was thinking, well, maybe it's because they just want to hang around people their own age. But I think what's going on there really is that these communities set a central focus of daily activities.
Yeah.
And the fact that because it's age-restricted, generally that means at least one member of the household has stopped working. Right. So you can always find somebody that's going to be able to do something with you during the day. It's not because they're all the same age. And what I noticed is there's been these age-restricted communities are starting to come into Washington State now. There's one in over Redmond called Trilogy. There's a new one being built down in the Tacoma area, and there's a couple of them down by Olympia. But the point is and what this gentleman did with the social media is he's not living in an age-restricted community. He's working in his current town that he's living in, and he's setting up ways to meet new friends and do fun things.
Right. That's right. Retirement is more than just about money.
Right. In fact, we say one thing about money today. We say one thing about money.
Till I blew it there.
Right. So I think that to end this episode, I don't think it's about having to move into one of these age-restricted communities. Right. It's a way to stay in your local community, to figure out a way to move a little bit, but also to have social interaction.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you for watching this episode of Erickson TV, and we'll see you next time.
See you next time.